to the Marketing Pulpit Show, and I am Robert Gatewood, your host. We are here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. bringing you the good of marketing gospel. We're not saving souls, we're saving businesses, saving jobs, saving our community. Now, if I happen to save a soul along the way, don't hold that against me. We'll just call that icing on the cake. Now, the mission at Marketing Pulpit Show is to build strong businesses in our community so that we can put our people to work. And we do that with business development, job creation, and service. So if you ever find yourself in a business crossroads and not sure which way to turn, just turn on the Marketing Pulpit Show because we're on a mission. The show is broadcast live from the illustrious Radio 1. Welcome. This is the Marketing Pulpit Show, and I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and we are here every Friday, 10:30 a.m., bringing you the good marketing gospel. Not saving souls, we're saving businesses, saving jobs, saving our community. I save a soul along the way. That's just icing on the cake. We have a mission here, and that's to build these businesses and put people to work. And it's not a small task. It involves work, dedication, the community, strong network, resolve, but we can do it. We're making progress every day. And I'm glad to be here on this Friday. I am Robert Gatewood. I am a business developer by trade. I have a company called Gatewood Marketing and Web. And you can find out more about the company by going to gatewoodmarketing.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. You can find us on marketingpulpit.com. You can go to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, all of the major platforms. Just go to @marketingpulpit and you'll find us. We have a great archive of past shows and things that we've been doing over the years. Been pretty consistent. And sometimes you don't see the progress on a day-by-day basis, but that's just how business development works, or any major project when you think about it. You have to look at these milestones and KPIs and just to make sure you're making progress and moving in the right direction. And we try to do that. We come here every Friday. We bring out some new ideas and get some new people on board and bring in guests. I've been at this for a minute. I also teach this at the local college here in the DC area. I teach marketing strategies, social media, networking. And I've written a couple of books, one called Played in Full, another called Smarter Than the Boss. And I've been regularly in the small business space at the SBA as a consultant in the technology area. And so it's when you have a passion and a purpose, things get very clear for you. And you're not as easily sidetracked. Sometimes people might not understand what it is that drives you. Maybe it's not for them to understand, but you have to fight on. We have an exciting show today. I'm going to talk about business ownership. I'm going to ask you this question. Do you have a business or do you have a side hustle? I never thought about that, really, did you? There is a difference, and we're going to talk about that today. As a matter of fact, we're going to talk about types of business ownership, side hustles, scale it, sell it, turnkey. So we're going to talk about that. And those, sometimes when your business is not operating at optimum level, it's possible that there's not an alignment between your personality, your resources, the time you have available, and the type of business you've chosen to pursue, the business type. And it does require different resources, mindset, and money, time, depending on the type of business. We're going to talk about that coming up later in the show. It's also Financial Literacy Month. We've announced that earlier. And this is a great month to take stock on, to go back and evaluate how you're doing financial-wise. Or do you understand the terminologies? Or are you keeping up with things? Or are you kind of falling behind? Because almost now you have to stay on top of technology and stay on top of your finances. They're becoming intertwined. So you can't just let things be, like the old folks used to say. You have to be proactive and make sure you're staying abreast of what's going on. I want to say hello to everybody that's tuning in online. I see Dr. Colette Jackson. I'm going to go ahead and claim it for her. Thank you for tuning in, one of the sisters of 85 Beta sorority. She's in pursuit of her doctorate degree down in Florida. And thank you very much for tuning in this morning. Also, if you haven't joined the business directory, go down to Marketing Pulpit. You can go to marketingpulpit.com or mpi.bz. We made it easy. So if you have a company or side hustle or business and you want to get a shout out here on the show, then go ahead and do that. And we will acknowledge you. You got to do something, right? You got to do something to get these customers in the door. I'm giving you a tool, and it's free if you just want to get a shout out and recognition and a place to people where I can send people. People calling me, hey, Gatewood, I need a plumber. Gatewood, I need a banker, a butcher, a baker, a candlestick maker. Where do I get these people? Look, I don't have time to be raffling through my pockets, carrying 1,000 business cards. I just tell them go to the business directory. Go to mpi.bz. Boom. Like I said, somebody called me this past week. I need a divorce attorney. Hey, go to mpi.bz. I don't have time to be going through my Rolodex like I did in the old days. I'm making it easy for you to get customers, and I'm making it easier for me to refer you. Go to mpi.bz, and Dr. Jackson is already there with her consulting company. Quite a few other interesting people there. See John James as a financial consultant. Good timing on this financial literacy month. Bradley Thomas, law, minister of wellness, eternity plumbing. It's Mr. Brown, HBCU leg, and the list just goes on and on and on. Go to the homepage of mpi.bz and check out these amazing companies. Speaking of amazing, we had our first Friday on last week at BLE Executive Suites. They have a monthly networking event. It's tethered in the law of attraction, and Miss Bernadette Clay is a strong adherent, and she's kind of got me. Man, you see something that works, you give it a try, and man, that law of attraction does work, particularly when it comes to networking. You want to be around people who are like-minded, have similar ambitions, not necessarily the same, not monolithic or anything myopic. We're talking about a mindset of people who are trying to build something together, and we can learn from each other. And so Miss Bernadette Clay entreated us with her knowledge and wealth of experience last week, talking about wealth strategies. She gave us 5 wealth strategy tips, tax advice, and so forth. Great first Friday. So we have another one coming up in May. We'll give you that information as it gets closer. Speaking of BLE, they have their locations, 3 locations, one in Largo, Maryland, one in National Harbor, and one in College Park. And they have a special going on right now. If you want a business address and you're trying to get your business off the ground, you need somebody to answer the phones, a place to have your mail sent. Without going, give out your personal address. Give them a call at 301-322-1700 or go to blesuites.com, and they have a 50% off your first order, courtesy of the Marketing Pulpit. Just say Gatewood sent you, and they will acknowledge you. I do want to dedicate this show also. You've heard me call Mr. Gerald Brown many times on this show. He's probably one of our, if not the most dedicated follower since we've been doing this show. It goes all the way back to 2010 when we first started the Marketing Pulpit radio show. And we're dedicating this show to his wife, as Mr. Brown used to lovingly call her, his beautiful bride. Elizabeth Brown, she passed away recently. And Mr. Brown has been a bedrock. He's been very solid. Matter of fact, he came out to the first Friday last week. I had to embrace him when I saw him. Well, I'm dedicating this show to his beautiful bride, Liz. He used to speak so lovingly of her, and I can imagine the pain that he's enduring. And she will be celebrated at the Cornerstone Peaceful Baptist Church in Upper Marlboro on tomorrow, and I'll be there. I want to come by and show my respect and condolences. And so I just asked the Marketing Pulpit family to join me as we send our sincere condolences to Miss Elizabeth Brown. amazing, beautiful lady. She will be missed, and she has a permanent place here in the hearts of the Marketing Pulpit family. Mr. Brown, I understand why you're not here today. Thank you, Colette. It's been a tough month. It's been a tough year, really, man. It's like every time you turn around, somebody's leaving us. Hey, get your life right. Do the right thing. Be kind to people. Embrace self-care. This is all. I think Friday we talked about self-care. You got to take care of yourself too, because you can't help anybody else if you're not taking care of yourself. So you got to learn to let some things go. You have to realize what your limitations are. Embrace things that are going to help you and make you stronger and a better person. And like I said, be kind and nice to people and understand that it's not always about us. There are the people involved. And I've tried to embrace that over the years. I mean, we can always do better. This is also Stress Awareness Month. And so those things run hand in hand. Stress is a killer. And so you want to make moves in your life to alleviate stress to the extent possible and not be a stressor on others. It's also a month of hope. So keep those in mind as we move forward on this Friday Marketing Pulpit Radio Show. We're going to talk about let's talk about financial literacy for a minute since we're on the topic. This is Financial Literacy Month. I was amazed and honored to be in the company of Miss Bernadette Clay this past Friday. She gave a great presentation. So a couple of things I'm going to just go back to the basics. Take you back to some of the basics of financial literacy. Sometimes we didn't get these things coming up. I didn't. My dad was a sharecropper. He did the best he could. And I love him for every ounce of wisdom he imparted upon me. I think all things considering, he was a financial genius, but he didn't have the benefit of a college degree. And matter of fact, in every turn, there was obstacles, racism, and all kinds of problems that were holding him back. So, but here we are. I'm not one to cry over spilt milk or missed opportunities. One thing you never hear me on this show, those who've been listening to me for the past 14 years, I don't complain. I don't complain about. Matter of fact, it's a quote that I use a lot. It's why curse the darkness when you can light a candle. Yes, there's darkness all around us. Bigotry, racism, sexism, all types of isms. People, there's bad people out here. But you spend all your time just cursing and punching at the darkness when you could be lighting candles to alleviate and pave a better way for you and those who are dear to you. And I look at financial literacy the same way. Like I said, I didn't get it from my parents, but I probably got it in life later than a lot of people. But once I kind of figured it out, and I'm still learning, like many of you, but I'm willing to share as we learn together. And I do want to say good morning to Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown, I'm not sure if you were here when we gave a dedication to your beautiful bride. We are dedicating this show to Elizabeth Brown, and we announced the celebration tomorrow. And glad to see you this morning. So glad to see you, Brother Brown. In our hearts, prayers, condolences, and we are right there with you, brother. We are right there with you. So we're going to talk about some financial literacy quickly. Later in the show, we're going to talk about, do you have a business or a side hustle? We're also going to cover some news items this morning. So let's get moving. Somebody once said that when the rich receive money, they invest first and then they spend what they have left over. And the poor, when they receive money, they spend first and then they invest if they have anything left over. And I would admit, most of my early days, that was my mentality. It just made sense to me. Think about it. You get a check, you go out here and spend, you have a good time, get your car, get you some nice threads, and hey, look, I got a couple $100 left over. Let me go and invest it. makes sense, right? But what if you took the other approach? You went out and you have this, you're on this path, you're on this, you have this goal. Look, I need to save $50,000 by the end of the year. So that means I got to put $2,000 in the bank. But shoot, that's going to give me another $250 to spend. Hey, so what? That's probably all you need to spend. Maybe more than you need to spend. But when you flip that mindset, that's the first time in my life when things really start to click. When I started thinking about investing first. And yeah, when you start investing first, you're becoming, instead you worrying about the car dealership calling you to pay their loan, you're more concerned about not being able to make that investment into that stock portfolio or into that high interest bearing account on time. And it really, once that mindset shifts, I mean, amazing things happen. And you really, once you make that adjustment, you will really never be poor again. I need some habits of people who are, here's some tips on financial literacy and that you should be aware of. Of course, budgeting, create a budget. And one of those things is budget include investing. Don't just budget on the expenses, budget on what you're going to put away, and talk to people also. Like I said, also always talk to a financial advisor. I'm not a financial advisor by any stretch, but these are some terms that you should be aware of. Savings, of course, a certain portion of your income should go towards, of course, life necessities, groceries, housing, things like that. But you should at least try to put aside at least 10% save in some type of instrument. Debt management. That debt is a killer. Boy, this is something we need to teach our young people. So if I'm telling you this, you think about yourself, but also share it going out and telling your young people. Some of them are more financially astute than we are, and some of these young people are making amazing amounts of money. But that debt can really do you in. So be a student of debt management. High interest debt, credit cards, things like that. These little store credit cards they try to get you to sign up for when you going through the cashier. Watch that debt and those credit scores. Man, I tell you, I'm not even sure I knew what my credit score was when I was out having a good time. And I came out of college making a lot of money. I was young. I was financially illiterate. And, but it took life to kind of snap me into place. And so I said, I've made it my life mission to help others and to share. Like I said, I don't call myself a financial advisor, but I'm a life advisor. I've been around. I've seen a lot. I remember once upon a time I was in one of our networking events. A young man came up to me. He had a nice BMW out there in the parking lot, and he was telling me about the next model he's about to buy. And he said, "Oh yeah, man, that's." I was complimenting on the one he had. He was talking about the next model he's about to get. I said, "I wouldn't do that." I said, "Why don't you do this? Give it a year. Think about it for another year. If it still works, if you're not paying exorbitant repair bills." Because he had just started this new business and he was making good money. And I think business sometimes can be precarious. And let's give it a year or two. And that car, one you have looks fine. I probably sound like an old fuddy-duddy telling him that. We'll make a long story short. The next meeting we had, I don't think it was a month later, he had actually lost his business. And it was some of the best advice I'd probably given somebody. And the results were so obvious right away. And so he avoided a major debt on his income or lack of. Of course, think about retirement planning, insurance, having adequate insurance, and just educating yourself on the financial world. These are just some basic things I want you to consider during this financial literacy month. And it doesn't hurt to get you a financial advisor. I met one of the people at the First Friday. He said, it doesn't cost you to talk. I said, I think I'm doing okay now, but I will talk to you. Because I've done a few things in the stock market. I put a couple of coins into some high interest savings accounts, but I'm sure there's more I can do because I don't call myself a baron. I'm just a regular guy. I'm on the radio show trying to make it like the rest of us. So we're learning together. We're all learning together. What I am going to do is take a quick break. And thank you, Mr. Brown. You're quite welcome. We're going to come back and talk about a couple of quick items in the news. We'll talk about OJ. We're going to talk about this eclipse that we just had. I know Eclipse had such magical powers over people. So hang on, don't go anywhere. This is the Marketing Pulpit. We'll be right back in a minute. So hang on.
Now the mission at Marketing Pulpit Show is to build strong businesses in our community so that we can put our people to work. And we do that with business development, job creation, and service. So if you ever find yourself in a business crossroads and not sure which way to turn, just turn on the Marketing Pulpit Show because we're on a mission. The show is broadcast live from the illustrious Radio 1 studio.
All right, another quick break. I am back. This is the Marketing Pulpit. I am Robert Gatewood, your host, and I'm here every Friday at 3 a.m. bringing you the good marketing gospel. I'm not saving souls, I'm saving businesses. Yeah, my dad was a preacher, so yeah, I threw in the soul thing. I named the show in his honor. He was in hospice when the show was being conceptualized and tossing around some names. And I remember the days when I used to follow him around. He was going to church. I was sitting out there, and he's up in the pulpit, just carrying on. And I said, well, yeah, some people say sometimes you get called to preach, called to a ministry. Well, I don't think the good Lord ever called me to do the type of preaching and ministering that he was doing, but I do think I was called to this ministry of business development. And it has been my life calling. It's been my purpose, my reason for being, my raison d'etre. And this show is a part of that mission. And thank you for tuning in. You can find out more about the show by going to marketingpulpit.com. We have the past shows there. There's a slideshow on the homepage. Just go from one show to the next. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, and you can go to YouTube. There's like tips, categorization based on the show, the subject matter, the guest. So this information is here, and there's no charge for it. Why wouldn't you do this, right? Why wouldn't you do this? This is my way of giving back. As I've said on this show, people say, hey, Gatewood, you're on here trying to sell me your service. No, I'm not. Matter of fact, you can't get my services right now. I was the thing is, this has been interesting. When you do business right, it's hard to get out of it. People won't let you go. I had two people call me this week. One was a CPA, the other was an attorney. And one said, Gatewood, I am not going to let you retire. I mean, that was really flattering. I said, well, you can't control that, but it was a good laugh. He said, no, you built this monster. He was talking about his business. You can't abandon me. I said, well, let's talk about it. He talking about increasing my retainer and all this kind of stuff. I was kind of flattered. Hey, we'll keep talking. And then I get an email that day. This attorney, I thought I had sent her on her way. We built a website, her logo, and let the young people take it over. But she contacted me. She wanted to talk about some strategy. I said, okay, well, we'll talk about it. Bottom line is, do business right. Treat people right. Don't try to make all the money at one time. It's a process. Get people in, let them get to know you, feel you, know that you're a good, honest, hardworking person that has their best interests at heart. And they will reward you the rest of your life. Learn that. All right, got a couple other people shouting out over here. Hey, Platinum. I see Platinum. The Platinum is she's a client of mine, been around quite a while, comedian, and got a lot going on. Got some shows out there on the road. I see on these flyers and banners. Congratulations, Platinum. And Mr. Brown said that is so right. Mr. Brown is a witness. Because I know he enjoyed the Let's see. AT&T has a breach of millions of current and former customers. I am so tired of these information breaches. Do this, people. Know that your information is not safe anywhere. I can argue all day and tell you, people are talking about, I don't want a smart TV in my house. I don't want, if you have a telephone, you are susceptible. Just keep abreast, make sure you have some type of way to check to make sure that your information is being protected, that you get notifications on your phone, if there's some type of change your password. Whoever, AT&T, 73 million people that information now may be out on the dark web and who knows where else. And so there's a class action suit in the making. So it's getting messy out there. Here's a quick note that small business optimism is the lowest point since 2012. I mean, I can see that happening. I think the pandemic is still draining on people, but it's I'll tell you what's happening right now. So these big companies, these big box stores, and Amazon and Walmart, and it's hard to beat these guys. I'm just telling you, it's tough out here. I went to a new restaurant yesterday for the first time over in my neighborhood. I mean, the place was perfect. Good food. They got the nice uniforms. I thought it was a decent location. My main concern, though, I was the only person in the store. Now, they had a couple of folks walking in to pick up. And if you know anything about a restaurant, it's about volume. It's about, if you don't get the volume, you can't turn that product. You can't turn those sausages and those eggs and that bread and that milk, and those products are going to go bad. And then next thing you know, you're selling bad food, or you keep having to throw stuff out, and that's going to kill a restaurant business. So I've told people, when you think about starting a business, you think long and hard before you start a restaurant. Now, that's not to discourage anybody, but you got to have some money in the bank, because it's going to take you a minute to get that traffic up that's necessary to be successful. And good morning to, I'm going to call him Deacon Bradley Thomas. Glad to see you this morning, brother. Glad to see you. He's an intellectual property and personal injury attorney, very good at his craft, and he can probably attest to what I said earlier. Why don't you can give me an amen on this, brother Thomas. When you out here doing what you do, and you do it as well as you do it, it's hard to leave clients. Well, I know it's one, because it's hard for me to leave him. I've been working with him for so many years now. If he decided to retire, he's gonna get a knock on his door. So, oh boy, there's truth to this stuff, folks. It's not as mystical as we like to make it. We just have to follow the rules. Brother Thomas says, "Amen." We've seen the first total eclipse of the sun since the pandemic, and these pandemics and eclipse seem to work together to bring out the worst in people. Most of us see the eclipse as like the moon passing in front of the sun. You got this shadow, and you see the sun kind of blazing from around it. I was a little disappointed here in the DC area. I thought everybody in the yard with a little funny looking glasses on, and I'm waiting for some darkness. So I was looking out the window of my office. I didn't have the glasses, so I wasn't going to go out there and look up. I'm waiting on the darkness to hit. I saw a couple of, maybe a 10% reduction in the amount of sunlight, like a cloud may have passed by. But I'm sure but the people that were doing it, so you had to look up to really appreciate it. Good luck for them on that. Now this is the sinister side of it. Some people look at this eclipse as something that's rather insidious and apocalyptic. This young lady, now you gotta really read this story. This young lady, she was an influencer, an astrology influencer. She had 100,000 followers, and she decided that it was the eclipse was the epitome of spiritual warfare. She posted that days earlier, before the eclipse. And on the day of the eclipse, she stabs her husband to death. And she jumps in her car going down the 405 and in California and throws her three children out the car window while she's driving at 100 miles an hour. That and this, how do you tie this to an eclipse? I'm still trying to work this out. Maybe there's mental something going on. Maybe I tell you what, the things you see on social media though, the people that we follow, 100,000 people thought that she was normal at some point. Not only normal, but worthy of being followed. I think in general we need to spend a little more time getting to know people, asking questions. What's your favorite sign? I mean, that stuff is all nice, even in our personal lives. What's your zodiac sign? What do you want to do? What's your goals in life? I mean, but you don't really think about the question like, are you going to stab me and throw my kids out the window going 100 miles an hour down the highway? There's something amiss out here. There is something going on. And then when you think there's this, okay, this is a one-off, right? So this is not going to happen. This is not going to happen. This is just once in a million. Another woman down in Florida. She claimed that God told her to go on a shooting spree because of the solar eclipse. She drive down the interstate in Florida, shooting into passing cars. She shot into about 2 or 3 cars, and she did hit one driver in the neck. He survived. Well, I'm not sure if I have a solution or get to know people. And I've said this also, tighten your circle. You don't have to follow everybody because they have a nice Instagram account or 1 million followers on TikTok. We're going to come back to the good old days. I'm just telling you, the way things are going, we're going to find out that a lot of this stuff, this technology, this AI, this social media, and this is from somebody who teaches social media. And if you sat into one of my social media classes, and they're probably shocked with students, I said, if you come in here to be encouraged to get on social media, I said, you're in the wrong class. I'm here because there's almost 5 billion people on social media. It's too big of a market to ignore. What I'm here to do is to show you how to use it and not let it use you. So there's a lot of things at work here. But I am going to start giving the side out the next time one of these eclipses come along, because we also have this, what is that? Monkey see, monkey do effect. Well, they did it this time, so next time somebody else may decide this is how to get their 15 minutes. Anyway, here's a bit of news. O.J. Simpson passed away. O.J. in 1994, he was accused of brutally slaying his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and Nicole and Goldman. So it was 2 people that was killed in the attack. There was a lot of controversy around the verdict. If the glove don't fit, you got to quit. Johnny Cochran, the Kardashians, the Cato Caitlin, was a young lady who was the district attorney. A lot of people made reputations good and bad from that trial. OJ did have some future trials. He was accused of several things. He did serve some time. He was found guilty on some civil matters, but he did spent about 9 years in the pen over something that was related to some other items. But Joe, how do you feel about him? He passed away at the age of 76, and he died of cancer. I do have a question though. Can we fix this cancer thing? And all this time and money we spending on wars and this and that and the other. It's like every single penny we have left over should be trying to fix cancer. So anyway, O.J. Simpson dead at 76 this week. Let's do this. We're going to go ahead and jump into our subject matter for today. And thanks again for tuning in, everybody. And Bradley Thomas said, cancer does not discriminate. It doesn't care if you OJ, doesn't care if you are a good friend, Joe Madison, Dr. John King's boy, Dexter King, and the women. The list is just endless of people who we've seen come and go as a result of cancer. So take care of yourself. Matter of fact, without getting too much TMI, I have an appointment after I leave here. I'm going to the doctor. I'm going to get a checkup. This is my self-care. I'm taking care of myself this month. So I want to make sure that everything is working and nothing in there works. It's going to hurt me later on. So I encourage you to do the same on this self-care month, which is the month of April happens to be. Let's talk about this business. First of all, do you really have a business? I see people on the feed. I see people on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. We got a very good sized audience today. People are tuning in on Facebook, on LinkedIn. I see people tuning in on YouTube. Many of us are business owners. Now, I started out by saying, do you have a business or do you have a side hustle? Now, we kind of know what a side hustle is. You know, the shade tree mechanic, big mama who used to do your taxes. They might be what you might call a side hustle. But a business really is a formal entity that has been established for the specific purpose of generating profit through sale of goods and services. It requires significant money and investment and time and energy. It may involve in hiring employees, obtaining licenses, permits, some types of certification. Sometimes it may require a certain type of degree. And it must adhere to various regulations and tax requirements. That's like what we call a business. On the other hand, a side hustle, it's more like a secondary source of income. It's not really your main gig. It's not how you pay your mortgage. It could be freelance work. It could be selling products online. You could be reselling. You could be doing all kinds of things. And hopefully all of it's legal. But many of the side hustles don't qualify as what we call a formal business. Now we can get into the semantics about whether a side hustle is a business or not, because many of them are. Just because they're not your main source of income, they could very well be a business. It may not be as formal or as structured as a formal business, but ultimately, whether it is a business or not might come down to the individual intent of the owner and the people that you're dealing with. Some people that are claim to be in business, they probably shouldn't consider themselves in business, because when you make that claim, it comes with a certain amount of responsibility. Because people can be handing over you some pretty vital information. Some of it very private and personal. Do you have the safeguards in the right places? Are you adhering to tax regulations, privacy, HIPAA? So there's a reason that we patronize businesses sometimes over side hustles. And that's not side hustles, because I've had quite a few side hustles in my life. Probably got a couple going on right now. But my business is Gatewood Marketing, where we provide services, products. We file taxes. We file a 1120 every year, and we adhere to certain guidelines and so forth. I use the example of the shade tree mechanics and the big mama who used to do taxes. Well, Uncle Sam kind of takes a glance at this too. In the old days, just about anybody could do taxes. Well, a few years ago, they decided that there are too many of these shade tree tax preparers out here screwing up people's taxes. So they required everybody who's doing taxes to get a PTIN. So person tax it stands for people who are doing taxes. So preparers tax ID. No. So Uncle Sam is they're trying to draw the line on some of these things too. But don't by any means I don't want to malign anybody who's have multiple streams of income, doing side hustles. I did say do it legitimately and carry the responsibility as if you are a business, whether you want to call it a business or not. But side hustles are just one way people get into business. Sometimes it's a stepping stone. Sometimes those side hustles become the main business. Like we use let's say the build it from scratch model. So most of the businesses that we see on a day-to-day basis are based on the build it from scratch model. In other words, they built it from the ground up. They had an idea. They went out and did what they had to do, filed the papers, got the licenses, and built the business from scratch. I'm gonna use myself as an example of that. Now that's kind of like the longest, hardest way to do a business, but it's the most sustaining. I bet you the people on this line, like Brother Thomas and Brother Brown, they probably used the build it from scratch model. They went out and got their skills, their certifications, and they set out and built a business. And just like I'm going to attest for myself, it's a long, hard road, but it's very rewarding because you built something. You've actually built something. You laid down foundation. You built customer goodwill. You built a reputation. You built a brand. You perfected a product. That's the build it from scratch model. So if you're going to do that, just be in it for the long run. That's all I'm going to say. It's not something you do overnight. There's also other ways to get in without doing it from scratch. There's the turnkey model, where you go out and let somebody else do all that work. Buy you a franchise, buy you a biz op, become a reseller, where you just hand somebody a chunk of money, they hand you the manual, and you're up in business. Now, it may seem there's usually more upfront money required. People ask me this too, say, Gatewood, if I go buy a franchise, it's going to cost me $100,000, $150,000, in some case up to $1 million. I don't have that kind of money. Well, when you start a business from scratch, it's going to cost you that and more. You're just going to stretch it out over a longer period of time. You have a lot more failures in the middle. It's going to increase the price even more. Plus, the problem with starting from scratch, if you depend on certain type of businesses, if you don't put that money in up front, you may face obsolescence by the time you reach critical mass. So these are things you have to consider when you're starting a business: the time, the resources, your goals, your ambition, because you may be trying to do what we call a scale it and sell it, which is another type of business. You have no intention of being in this business, but you want to get it off the ground because you have a certain skill, certain connection, certain resources to get a business going. But the goal, that's once again, you have to consider when you're starting a business, what is the goal? The goal is to sell it. So there are certain attributes that come along with a scale it and sell it. One is the low acquisition cost. That means it's not a lot of buildings and machinery and none of that stuff. It's very dependent on economies of scale. Economies of scale simply means the unit cost goes down the more that you can buy when you're talking about the product or service that you want to resell. And it also has what we call the network effect. It increases the products and services increase in value the more of them you sell. So if you want to grow, expand exponentially, the financing is different, the goals are different. So if you're looking for a scalable business, don't expect to turn your mom and pop kitchen into a scalable business. You might can open up some more locations, but it doesn't really meet what we call the scalable model. The scalable model is a specific goal and determination of a business. You see this on Wall Street and high-tech companies and things like that. So bottom line is, do you have a business or a side hustle? Well, it depends on how you look at it. I would say if you want to be in business and your main source of income is to go ahead and formalize it. Go ahead and go down to the courthouse, whatever you have to do, go online, get your website, get your taxes, get the certification that you need to be in the business and commit to it. And you don't have to be in it full time right away. I mean, I wasn't in mine full time right away. I spent many years working as a corporate vice president when I was starting Gatewood Marketing, because I was working with a company who really wanted to pay me that kind of money, and I was willing to take it. So it depends on you. You make these kind of decisions, but just make sure you do it, that it's legal, that you understand the financial and physical and psychological drain? Do you have the resources, the stamina, the mindset? And that can help you determine whether you're ready for a regular full-time business or continue with a side hustle or one of these other types of businesses that we just talked about. All right, folks, that's going to wrap it up for today. This is the Marketing Pulpit. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host. I'm here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. You guys have been great. And once again, we dedicate this show to Sister Elizabeth Brown. That's Mr. Gerald Brown's beautiful bride, his queen, and she will be celebrated tomorrow over at the over in Upper Marlboro. And I'll be there to submit my condolences for the Marketing Pulpit family. Mr. Brown, we love you, and I hope to see you tomorrow. And on that note, as Mr. Brown has done so valiantly over the years, he's going to help me close out the show today. If you want to be successful, you have to do these three things. Do the right thing, do it at the right time, and you have to do it right. Enough talk, let's get to work.
Now, the mission at Marketing Pulpit Show is to build strong businesses in our community so that we can put our people to work. And we do that with business development, job creation, and service. So if you ever find yourself in a business crossroads and not sure which way to turn, just turn on the Marketing Pulpit Show because we are on a mission. The show is broadcast live from the illustrious